Okay, this thing is pretty freaking unique compared to almost everything else in the market. So I can't find a good way to describe it succinctly in text. Most mice take something like the GameSense MVP, which is a pretty sort of generic ambi shape. When I grab them, I'll make pretty good contact kind of all throughout this area of my palm out on this part of the hump. And I'm able to spread that contact out over a fairly large portion of my hand. And that feels more similar to me to when I'm gripping my ergo mice. So it's more intuitive, and that's what I default to doing. With the 303, unlike the old, smaller one, I can't do that, mainly because of how tall the back of the mouse is, and this pretty pointed crease along here. So when I hold it, it's very much like what people call a pincer claw grip, where I'm making a little bit of contact here, no contact here, and then contact here. So you can basically draw a line along my palm where this edge of the mouse pushes into, and it's right here in between my last two knuckles, down into the center of my palm. And it works. The mouse is wide enough that I can curl my fingers around the edges, pull it firmly back into that part of my palm. It's long enough, and I have really good control over it, and I play well with it. But because the vast majority of my palm isn't actually touching anything, it feels a bit awkward to me, because it's not what I'm used to, and it's definitely not a shape that I would say is as comfortable for really long sessions of use compared to something that spreads that palm contact over a wider area and takes more pressure off specific parts of your hand. That's not to say it's bad or that you couldn't use it for long periods of time every day. I could probably use this for a week straight with nothing else for 10 hours a day of playing or doing stuff on the PC and be completely fine. I just mean to say that it is not as comfortable as some of my other mice, and that is one of the main things I look for in a mouse that I want to use a lot, is something that's very intuitive, easy to hold, and that is like supremely comfortable, without massively limiting my grip for gaming performance. So this is it's a really good mouse, well built out of the box, no major structural problems at all anywhere. There's a little bit of vibration that you get through the shell every time you lift your finger off the scroll wheel because of the metal clip spring that tensions the clicks in the scroll. But that's basically a design element. There's not much you can do about that, really. And there are these little rattles that you can get off the main buttons if you pick them up, but because they're such wide and flat buttons, and they're at such a relatively flat angle, I make fairly minimal contact with them in terms of surface area on my fingers, and so unlike the G703, I won't tend to drag or pick the buttons up if I lift my fingers or reposition them. So even though these are spring tension and that rattle will tend to annoy me on other mice, the Corsair Saber Pro is a really egregious example of that, it doesn't on this mouse, because I never hear or feel that spring tension system rattling like that during normal use. Thumb buttons are big, they're easily accessible, fairly well placed, right up towards the top of the mouse, good for people with very wide hands. So you can basically grip the mouse further towards the top the wider your hands are, and it'll still be comfortable, whereas if you had slightly smaller hands, you could grip it more towards the bottom, and that would be a little bit better, but you'd have to put your hand kind of more on top of the mouse to do that, and so it would be a bit, you'd run out of a bit more space for your fingers, like you see here, compared to my normal grip. Anyway, still probably would be workable, but yeah, it's definitely a mouse where you adjust your grip to this shape. It's not a shape which is designed to make allowances for you to use your normal grip and have it be workable and comfortable. That's, to me, my favorite mouse shape right now is the Outset AX, and that's basically what that mouse does. It's like you can grip it any one of 13 zillion different ways, and the shape is pretty good for and very comfortable for basically all of them. This is not that. This is I am a shape, and you will hold me the way that I'm intended to be held for your hand size, and if you don't like it, tough type of a mouse. But it is good. It's a very effective mouse. It's well built. The battery lasts for freaking ever, and I like it, and I play well with it. So that's my quick overview, I guess, of the 303. Anything else that I really should add? The way the shell is held together, it uses some plastic clips right up here along this seam, and they are very difficult to disassemble without stressing the plastic. They won't like snap off or break or ruin the mouse on you. You can disassemble it, but it is not something like, say, a Zowie mouse that you can just do over and over and over again for fun without any real problems. This is definitely a mouse where I will only ever open this up if I absolutely need to, and I'm going to open it up once, do everything I possibly can to improve or repair it while it is open, and then put it back together while being absolutely certain I haven't forgotten anything, and then be done and not open it up again. I guess that's more for people like me who consistently tinker with their stuff, but yeah, that's everything that comes to mind. If you have any questions, do let me know. Be happy to answer them. But that is, to me, how the 303 feels.